Good afternoon. My name is Ken Richardson, City Board Director, Ward 2. Welcome to Ward 2. We're here for a very exciting event today. When I ran for City Board a number of years ago, one of the things I wanted to do was have a paradigm shift to address public safety through community building. And that was part and parcel because I did a lot of work in this area on gang intervention work. And one of the things I noticed doing that work was that gangs were strongest where sense of community was weakest. Crime was strongest where sense of community was weakest. So to that end, one of the things we did, I came up with a vision on revitalizing this area, partly because I did my gang intervention work in this area, and other parts because I grew up in this area. And to that end, about August of 2008, we worked on a revitalization project, 12th Street revitalization project with some community members, with some consultants from Crafton and Tull. And we developed a plan. We had a year-long meeting process with community members, a steering committee, and community-involved people. This process was community-involved and community-engaged. Simply put, this was something that was done with the community rather than to the community, rather than for the community, rather than at the community. Something that was done with the community and the community driving that process. And we also had the ability to get funding to dovetail that work with a Jumpstart grant that Frederick Gentry helped write that funding, helped get the funding for this, and kind of have some continuity with the next part of the plan. And part of it is branding, which is why we're here today. And we have some community members who are part of our Jumpstart process that are here today. They're not part of it. We have Frederick Gentry here. We have Irma Peterson. We have Denise Armstead Johnson, Deborah Bell, and Pamela Bax. And Ron Muse, President of Forest Hill Neighborhood Association. City staff, we have Oslam Polat, Lenny Zweibel, excuse me with these names, and Faith Mullins. And I would be remiss if I didn't make recognition or acknowledge Robert Webb, who's been a part of this process since day one, been involved, who's from this neighborhood. When we started this in 2008, Robert's been a real big part, real big proponent, and a component of youth engagement, youth involvement, and figuring out ways, not just for us to improve the infrastructure, but look at ways to invest in human capital, to engage young people, disconnected youth and adults, to help them learn the skills to be employable, and to address the high unemployment rate in this area, a high underemployment rate in this area, which are precursors to criminal activity. And we want to make sure we want to kick this off with some comments from some of our community members here. We want to have comments from the mayor. And we thank everybody for being here today. We're excited about what we're doing to have some continuity of a plan that we started back in August, Frederick, of 2008. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. But if you look at what we've accomplished over that time, we've had over $40 million of public sector investment, private sector investment. You see new housing stock. You see our 12th Street station there. You see employment and housing and substance abuse and youth treatment over black community developers. They were part of the funding, part of the ongoing process as well. And I think if you speak with Don Ernst or Bobby Roberts from Central Arkansas Library Service, they would tell you that the Children's Youth Interactive Library would not be placed south of 630 had we not had this process in place, had we not had all this community investment, community involvement in place. In fact, we took a visit to the Tiger Woods Learning Center in California to get some of the ideas around programming, to make sure we had an adequate place for young people to go and grow and learn. So without any further ado, I want to invite my good friend and colleague, Mayor Stoller, to give us some brief remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ken. Director Richardson, certainly on behalf of the city, we appreciate your leadership, longstanding leadership in helping to provide a focus and an accent on the importance of the revitalization of this area. I remember when I first announced for mayor, I did it right over there on the corner right over there to talk about the exact same thing, and I'm glad to see that over the course of time we've seen a lot of city investment in the area, and it certainly puts an accent on the need for continued investment. So I want to say that certainly progress is being made, and this announcement today about trying to find a way to brand this area of our town and give it a new energy and a new identity in that regard is so very, very important. It's all part of the bigger process. So, you know, the city's invested in not only this wonderful neighborhood resource center, which we've had now as a center for people to in the community to gather at, but also obviously the 12th Street station next door. We've seen, of course, the library that has developed the Children's Library. And importantly, we look over here at the Empowerment Center and we look at the Recovery Act money that we received through the Recovery Act, the several $million, $8 million to build homes in this neighborhood and adjacent neighborhoods. And so we're happy to see that, but it only puts an underline on the fact that there's still much to do. And so over the last 2 years, in addition to all of the Jump Street activities that we've had and in this 12th Street area and the opportunity to look at how we can redevelop the 12th Street corridor with Pine and Cedar Street going north and traveling south, we received a Robert Woods Johnson grant to look at the idea from an issue of the social determinants of health and all of the things that contribute to the vitality and health of a neighborhood. So it's not just the physical health of people, but the health of the neighborhood. And that Invest Health grant was a collaborative between the city, the Arkansas Center for Health Improvement. Craig Wilson is here now with us, Southern Bancorp, the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, the city, and Better Community Developers. And I'm proud to say that one of the things we've come up with in terms of that planning grant is the idea of the relationship and the adjacency of this area, of the 12th Street area, to the medical community immediately to the north, right over the interstate, and the desire to make sure that those institutions are contributing and helping to grow this neighborhood and to revitalize this neighborhood. We started out, and actually Craig and I went to Memphis and looked at a concept that we think is very portable here, the medical collaborative that they have in Memphis, and we want to see whether that can be part of what we learn in this process of asking people about what they want in terms of branding this area. We recognize that it's important to look at those three concepts, which is to live local, buy local, and work local. And so to the extent that we can take advantage of that, we think there's a great opportunity to work with the medical institutions that make up the greater part of this neighborhood. And so you're going to continue to see that desire to continue to see the rebuilding of homes and home ownership in this area. And certainly the challenge that we have about buying local and making sure that we can try and take many of the commercial establishments along 12th Street and provide new energy and new opportunities for the private sector to get to invest in this area. So I just wanted to mention that because we know that those medical institutions are going to be here for a long time, and I think they can be a great source of stability for our wonderful 12th Street neighborhood. Thank you very much. Frederick?
Thank you, Director Richardson and Mayor Stodola. Next, we're going to have up a couple of folks from the committee and from the community who have certainly been a part of this process as well and have done a wonderful job, and we're happy to have them. Ron Muse, who is the president of the Forest Hills Neighborhood Association, is going to come up and make a few remarks. Ron?
Again, I'm Ron Muse, president of Forest Hills Neighborhood Association. This area called the Jump Start, it groups other neighborhoods, it touches on other neighborhoods, and I want them to become part of this too. And that's Hope Neighborhood, that's Love Neighborhood, Pine to Woodrow, Faith, and others like War Memorial. So if you would, Fair Park as well. So we all want you to become involved with this. It's good to be included in a project of this nature. It's a huge project, but I truly feel that the city wants us to have input into what transpires in this, including the branding of the area. And we need to have your ideas about how would you describe, what name would you use to describe this area that you call home? So please join us and help us determine what we should brand this area, and I'm sure that there will be a schedule of times we meet in the paper or in the news. So if you would please pay attention, contact us and let us know that you wanted to participate so that we can have more influence on the way things are done in our own neighborhood. Thank you very much.
2 words on the banner behind me are culture and history. And so as we look at the branding of this area, I think those are two things that we really need to take into consideration. This area does have a rich history, and we need to incorporate that in this thought process. And culture and diversity and the arts are also important, and we need to bring all of that to the forefront as we look at branding this area. So now I'm going to have someone come up who has certainly taken a great interest in culture and arts to bring it back to this area and help revive a structure that has been around for a long time, the Lee Theater behind the Hinton Center. I'd love for Pamela Bax to come up with Brandon House and talk a little bit about her work.
Thank you and good afternoon. I am excited to be a part of such an initiative, rebranding the 12th Street Quarter. I am Pam Bax, and I'm the Executive Director of Brandon House Cultural and Performing Arts Center. We work in collaboration with a lot of organizations. In particularly, we work with BCD, revitalizing, as Frederick just mentioned, the Lee Theater. That theater was built in 1940s, and it needs a roof on it. We have been listening to our youth, young adults, and residents here along 12th Street. They want culture, they want arts in this community. What better way to use the arts than to use your creativity and innovation skills? As a PIT funded, city funded program, we are engaging our youth in the arts. This rebranding of 12th Street, we want to be inclusive with the arts. So we ask you, there is a survey that will be at Willie Hinton Center, and we are asking residents to come out and complete this survey to let us know what you're thinking about in terms of including the arts. Thank you so much for being a part of this great initiative.
Thank you all for being here. As Pam said, the survey will be inside the Hinton Center for individuals who want to drop by, pick it up, and fill it out. However, we also have on the banner behind me an email address where they can send their comments to and their ideas. And there's also a Facebook page which we would love for people to go on to send us comments, reviews, anything that would help us in this endeavor. We will give this process a few weeks, and then after that we will have gotten we'll be overwhelmed with a lot of comments from individuals and ideas, and the committee will sit down and go over those, and then at some point we'll have a public meeting here at the Hinton Center in the auditorium and invite the general public here from the community to come so that we can interact and have dialogue about the rebranding process or the branding process as well, and allow the public to have face-to-face input and dialogue. So we are excited about the launch of this campaign. We look forward to the public's input. This is very important, and this is not an effort that we can do alone. So we certainly would love to have input from the community at large. So thank you all for being here. Have a great day.